It's day 21. That means it's story day, and I think I've got one that's going to really touch your heart. I want you to meet Kay, and she's from McGran, Pennsylvania. When I first heard from Kay, she told me about something that happened to her that changed her life forever. Her story begins. It was just a normal day at work for Kay, and all of a sudden, a man stopped her in the main hallway of the courthouse where she worked and remarked to her, "Gee, what a pretty face you have, but you sure are fat. You should lose some weight, miss." Well, no one is ever ready for a comment like that. Where does someone get the nerve to make such a statement to a stranger? Well, Kay went home that evening and never mentioned the incident to her husband, Ken. It's sort of a horrid story to repeat to someone else. She held the hurt inside and continued to think about the man's words, "You sure are fat. You sure are fat." The truth of the matter was Kay was fat. She was up to 246 pounds. Her four sisters tried desperately to convince her to do something about her weight, but Kay would never listen. Even her doctor advised her to drop the pounds. He was worried about Kay's health. She had high blood pressure. She was taking all sort of medication that sometimes made her very sick. Her vision was failing and her gallbladder was acting up. Well, one evening, Kay was having a sleepless night and decided to watch a little TV. You'll never guess who was on. She watched my show and saw me interviewing people who had lost 40 pounds, 80 pounds, and one lady who had lost 100 pounds. Kay thought, that's exactly how much I have to lose. Oh, I bet they're all actors and actresses, and they're just lying about their weight loss. Well, I'll just order Richard's stuff and see what happens to me. Well, the plan arrived. Kay didn't waste any time. She had never been the exercise type, but she loved the music and saw people her own weight doing all those steps. So Kay said, what the heck? I'll give it a try. Well, she started off doing just a little, and before she knew it, Kay was hooked. Every night after work, she would come home and immediately get into her sweating clothes. Her husband, Ken, would put on the VCR and tell his wife, "Honey, you have a date with Richard tonight, so get going." Gee, what a nice husband. On many evenings, Kay would invite her sisters over and make a party of it. After a while, she began noticing the changes. The oversized blouses she was wearing, well, they were so baggy. It was like they belonged to someone else. Her blood pressure wasn't high anymore, and she was starting to feel healthy for the first time in a long time. In her letter, she said, "Before your program, I was very depressed and felt all alone. I didn't think I could ever do anything about my weight. I felt ugly and unwanted. 100 pounds seemed like so much to lose, so I took it 10 pounds at a time. As I reached each 10-pound goal, I began to like myself and who I was becoming. I went back to my doctor, and he was so proud of me for taking control of my life. I have now reached my goal. I've gone from 246 pounds to 146 pounds. I want to apologize to you for ever thinking those people on your shows were lying about their weight loss, because I am living proof that it can be done. Oh, there are still days I want to eat the whole bag of chips, and when that happens, I just think about the man in the courthouse. Because now I have a pretty face and a body to match." Wow. Pretty powerful, huh? You know, sometimes things that people say to us, even though they may hurt us, are the very things that can bring us back to reality, to see the truth. With Kay, even though she was very hurt by what that man said to her, it made her realize that she was slowly destroying her body. And no matter how much her sisters begged and pleaded with her, it was a simple statement from a stranger that made her think long and hard about her health. After Kay knew in her heart that she had to do something, that she had to make a change for the better, that's when she was willing to take a chance on herself. And then that's when she got the deal meal. It took a stranger to jolt Kay into action. If only he could see her now.
Okay, so today we found out about Kay, who was motivated to make change after a stranger made a comment of, "You have such a pretty face, but boy, you're fat and you should lose weight." And I watched Jeremy's video before, recording this. And this is, I think, my third time attempting to record it because I went off on a tangent. So I'm going to try and stay on topic as much as I can, not go off on the tangent I went on. But someone who I thought was my best friend, and this was in elementary school, so this was 28 years ago. Oh God, that's a nightmare to think of. But I was very, very heavy at the time. I was morbidly obese. I was probably about 4'11", maybe 5 foot in the third grade, probably even shorter than that. And I was at that time probably about the equivalent of what I looked like at 5'6.5" and 130, not 130, 230 pounds. Very much that equivalent, very heavy. I look back at those pictures and I cringe so hard. I hate how I look in those pictures. And this girl, after we stopped being friends, we had a bit of a falling out. I wanted to still be friends, but I think my dad might burn that bridge for me. It's a long story. But after we officially stopped being friends, on the playground, when we would have recess, she started calling me chubby ballerina. And it hurt. It still hurts. And, I'm glad that Kay was able to flip around what this guy said and, able to make change. And I think so often when we hear those words, we internalize it and it just makes things worse. Granted, I will give you this. If you look at my third grade yearbook picture when this happened, and then you look at my fourth grade yearbook picture, you can see the difference between those two. And I don't quite remember. I speculate that I was having a really hard time making friends, and then after this whole chubby ballerina business happened, and I was very, very, very upset about that. My mom actually started taking me to Weight Watchers. I don't think she could actually take me to Weight Watchers until I turned 10 or 9. I would have been 9 at this point, maybe 10. I think I was 10. And I did lose a decent amount of weight. And I was able to kind of be borderline. I wasn't at a healthy weight, but it was a lot better. And I was probably hovering around 160, if I'm remembering right. It wasn't until I was a sophomore and was having sexual harassment happen that I ballooned up to the 215 that I was at. And then I got it down, and then, college happened, and then my mental health stuff happened, and this and that and the other thing. I eventually ballooned to 230, but I'm back under 200 now. But yeah, words like that, they can positively or negatively affect you. And I think a lot of it is negative. And I think Richard says in a later video in this series, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can break your heart. And that's definitely true. I mean, again, this is 28 years ago that this happened, and I still remember that insult. And I've been in therapy for well over 10 years. And I mean, I'm still having problems with the way things have ended with friends in the past. So that's just the one where it ended with weight being the insult that was given. So I'm a little behind, so I am going to stop this one, check out what the next one was, and I will see you in a bit. Bye. Have a good day.